Hello. I've had a bunch of questions about calculating P&L. We did some examples in class, but now we're going to do a few simple examples in this video so that you can see how to calculate simple P&Ls. So let's go over to the shared screen here. We use an Excel sheet, as I often like to use in class. Hopefully that's zoomed in enough for you and it's big enough that everyone can read. Maybe we'll pop it up here. 175%. Bam. Those of us who are older. Now, let's say today or whatever, September 1, we buy 100 what did we do? We bought 20 shares of Apple at, I can't remember the price. We'll say 147. Okay, so this is what we have. Put this in dollar terms, numbers. Now, since it's a buy, are we receiving cash or paying cash out? Well, we're paying cash out. So it's going to be a negative number. We will say minus 20 times 147. So we'll call this cash flow. So we bought 20 shares at a net price of 147 per share. So the total amount of money we spent was $2,940. This assumes no commission. When I started teaching this class, it was pretty much impossible to trade without commissions, but now you can trade commission-free at a ton of places. Robinhood basically opened this up for everyone. Bear in mind, this does not mean it's free. It just means you don't see the cost. We'll worry about that later. Now, let's say December 1st, you decide to sell it. The stock goes up to 175. So let's do it here. Get all of these. There we go. And you sell all 20 shares at $175 a share. Now, since we're selling stock, we give up stock, we receive cash in exchange. So this is going to be a positive cash flow, 20 times 175, and I didn't format this. There we go. So our profit and loss is simply going to be the sum of these two numbers. Well, we paid $2,940 when we bought the stock. We received $3,500. The difference, $560. Note, this is a positive number, so it's a profit. If, like me, you're a bad investor, you buy a stock at 147 and it went down to 123, well, you would have received less when you sold it than you paid for it, and you would have a loss of $480. This is represented as a negative number. Again, you can do this all for one share if you like, and then multiply it by the number of shares. Let's say you did 20. That times that, you get the same thing. This is probably an easier way to look at it when you start getting involved with margin. As I've said before in class, I don't like doing all of the cash flows when we talk about margin because people get confused with the borrowing money and then paying back the money. And so they often think their account value is much higher than it is, when in fact, they've borrowed $1,000 and have to pay that $1,000 back once they close out their trade. So this is just a very simple example. We buy one share at $147. Here we go, one. We buy one share at $147. We sell it at 123. Well, that's a loss of how much? $24 per share. And we did one share in this example. So your total, we'll just call this total, your total on trading one share is a loss of $24. we'll do more where we go and we look at margin trading and things like that. But first, I'm going to post this, pop it up there on the internet so you guys can look at it, check it out, and give me some feedback on what you think, if this is useful, having me do things like this for you.